All right, welcome. Lab number 7, manage Azure storage. In this lab, what we're going to do is create a storage account, look at the configurations, then do some blob storage and some file storage as well. So first, we need to create a storage account. It's right here on the top level menu for me. I'm going to click on that and then create. Now we have a resource group already created for this, so we're going to use that one. And then we need to get a globally unique name. And that's already taken, so that one's available. Note that there's a maximum size of the account name of 24 characters. Others, performance-wise, we're going to be happy with the standard general purpose option. For redundancy, we're going to go with geo-redundant storage. There are cheaper options available. Please take a look at the documentation to understand the differences in here. We're going to be in AZ-104 as well. And then let's get onwards. Couple of configurations here, like always, require SSL or TLS. Allow enabling anonymous access. We don't really need that. Storage account key access can be disabled from here if you want to. And then the default to Entra authorization as well as possibility. We can set up the minimum TLS version that we would like in case we have some older clients, and then copy scope stuff. Hierarchical namespace is a feature in Data Lake Storage Gen 2, so kind of that might be required there. And then there are a couple of access protocols that we can add, both SFTP and NFS. Both of them require that hierarchical namespace. And our blob storage standard access tier is going to be hot, so kind of the most default one. I think that's everything. Then with regards to networking, we can enable public access, so basically from the internet, or then we can restrict public access. Or we can just disable public access. In that case, we need to have a private endpoint to be able to access the storage account. Okay, then data protection. We have the ability to add point-in-time restore. We don't need to do that. With blobs, soft delete is enabled by default, and note that the number of days is 7. So anything that gets deleted doesn't really get deleted until 7 days later. Same thing here for containers and file shares. Additionally, we can enable versioning over here as well. Then encryption. So we can have our customer managed keys. And by default, only blobs and files support customer managed keys. We need to set it on for tables and queues separately over here. Everything works with Microsoft managed keys. Tags we don't need, so then we can just review. And create our storage account. Now we're done. So let's go to our resource. This is our storage account. And Just kind of note that you can see a lot of the settings that we have set up available here, and these can actually be changed from here, right? So most of the stuff is changeable. If you go over to security and networking, remember we made this public network access disabled. So we're going to change that now. So that's enabled from selected virtual networks and IP addresses. Now we're going to add our IP address, so my IP address, to the firewall so that we can have access from my machine to this storage account. All right, so let's save these changes. Another thing to look at here is under data management, the redundancy settings. So currently we're geo-redundant, right? And that means that we're using the East US region, and then everything gets automatically replicated over into West US, and that there's going to be a failover to that West US endpoint in case there is something wrong with the primary region. Then let's create a lifecycle rule. This is cool stuff. So in this rule, we want to actually move our blobs from hot storage to cool storage in our storage account, right? So what we want to do here is block blobs and base blobs, and then for base blobs, if base blobs were last modified more than 30 days ago, then we want to move them to cool storage, right? Because it's cheaper to keep it there. Could also do other stuff. So that way, automatically, if we don't touch a blob for more than 30 days, then it gets moved to the cool tier instead of the hot tier. Right. So then let's go to data storage and containers. We don't have any. We have the system generated logs container here only. So we're going to add one. And we're going to call this just data unimaginatively. Note that we can't set it to be public or anonymous access because that's our setting for the whole storage account. Okay, great. Now another thing that we could do here is do some access policies. So that's over here for the container itself, access policy. And then here we would add a policy in the immutable blob storage part. And the policy type would now be just time-paced retention, and we're going to say that it's going to be 180 days, right? So nothing can be removed or edited for 180. There we go. We have that in place. So next, let's go and take a look at our container and then do upload. When we are doing uploading of files, note that there is quite a bit of stuff that we can do. Right, we can define which access tier it goes to. It uses the hot one by default. That's what we set for the storage account. Tags can be set here. Encryption could be changed. Here you can see the retention policy that's actually coming from the container that we just created. We can say what size of blocks we want to use when uploading, and then of course also whether we want to overwrite in case of the policy already existing. So let's upload something. There we go, a nice architecture diagram for our lab. So now our data, our file is uploaded. So note that we can't, or we have options for downloading this file or deleting it or changing the tier, who knows what else. If we take a look at the URL of the file, we can paste that into a new browser tab and try to access it, but it will not allow that, right? So the public access is not permitted for this particular container. One way to get access to this is use the generate SAS functionality. So this is a shared access signature. Basically, what we're doing here is we're creating a URL that is using an account key to sign the URL. So that way, if we distribute that URL, we have whatever is given in this form as our permissions temporarily. So we want to have read permissions, and let's say that we start the key validity yesterday, and then we make it expire tomorrow, and yeah, that should be good enough. So now we got the URL generated here, and now if we use this URL to browse, then we get access to the actual data. Okay, so next up, let's go over to file storage. So under our storage account, there is the file shares functionality. I'm going to just add one over here. So I'm going to call it share 1. We can have this as either hot, cool, or transaction optimized. So I think the best option normally would be transaction optimized. Then we can enable automatic backups. We don't need this for this demo at all, so I'm just going to remove it. And then let's create the file share. All right, cool. Another neat functionality in the storage account is the storage browser. So the link is right here. So this allows us to browse through our storage accounts, and actually has quite a lot of functionality that doesn't exist elsewhere. So if you here go to file shares, we see our share, and it's here. We can just browse to it, and we can create a directory, my directory, right? And then we can go into that directory, and then we can maybe upload a file. I'm going to use the same file as previously, sorry. And then it's going to be there, right? So basic admin stuff can be done using this. So then a little bit about network access restrictions. So I'm just quickly going to create a VNet here. Just a default. And just going to remember that if you would have private access to your storage account only, then you wouldn't be able to connect from your virtual machines to a storage account. So the way to work with that is to then, in the virtual network itself, go to Settings and Service Endpoints. And then here what we can do is we can add a Microsoft Storage endpoint. It's right here. And then we're just going to put it in the default subnet, right? And now this means that there's going to be an IP address used. And now we are able to connect to Microsoft Storage from our VNet, via that particular subnet. So now if we go back to our storage account, right, over here, and then we go to networking, and now we make public network access only from virtual networks and IP addresses. I'm going to remove my IP address, and then I'm going to add an existing virtual network, which was the VNet network. And I also need to add the subnet. All right. So now let's save these changes. Cool. And now if we go to storage browser, I'm just gonna get rid of that. We go over to storage browser. We go to file shares, share. You can see we're no longer authorized to list the contents of our share. Same thing for our blob container, data. Nope, can't find anything from there. Just to show you how, and this would now be available from the virtual machines in that VNet, right? Okay, so that's it for this lab. Let me again just quickly delete everything that I have created by deleting the resource group itself. This is what you should do as well, in case you are doing this in your own environment. Thanks a lot for listening, and see you in your next lab. Till then.